Hello, happy to have you here. I would like you to give you a short introduction how your organization, the Wildlife Conservation Society and Viaje Sentido came together, and what is kind of the idea of your organization and of this little cooperative we have.
So the Wildlife Conservation Society is one of the oldest conservation organizations in the world, and WCS got established in Chile in 2004 with the creation of Karukinka Park in Tierra del Fuego. So the lands of Karukinka were donated to the WCS for conservation, and that's when we got established in Chile. So the mission of the Wildlife Conservation Society is to conserve wildlife and wild places around the world, and we have programs throughout the world and in different continents. More than 300 programs around the world in more than 60 countries. So it's a program that also, well, it's based in New York, and it manages the urban parks in New York, the Bronx Zoo, the aquarium, and many others. So it has a focus to get people together in these urban parks, and also it has its global program that we are part of.
Okay, and like, where are you located right now in Chile, and what are you especially doing in the place you are in Chile?
So I am based in Punta Arenas. WCS in Chile has three sort of offices. One's in Santiago, the capital city. The other one is here in Punta Arenas, which is the city, the last city of the continent, of the continental part of Chile. And then we have our headquarters in Karukinka, where our park rangers live. So we have like three offices.
Where is this park located? Where's Karukinka located, and why is it special to preserve this place?
So Karukinka, it's located in Tierra del Fuego Island, in the Chilean part of the island. So you have to cross the Strait of Magellan to get to Tierra del Fuego, and then drive around 260 kilometers south. So it's in the southern part of the island. And Karukinka spans around 300,000 hectares and conserve the most big and unfragmented forest, subantarctic forest of the world. So it's really important because these big masses of forests are the last, one of the last of the wild places in the earth. We also in Karukinka conserve massive amounts of peat bogs that are wetlands that have an important role for climate change because they hold inside massive amounts of carbon. And we also conserve some key species such as the guanaco, the Culpean fox, and many others.
What is the meaning of this place for this species?
So most of Tierra del Fuego is, or the northern part of the island is grassland ecosystem. And most of the forest ecosystem of the island is conserved in Karukinka. Therefore, the ecosystem that is used by the Culpeo fox and the refugee for the guanacos during the summer is in the forest, and all this area is conserved by Karukinka. Therefore, the importance of the park for the survival of this species, it's very, very important.
How does the experience of the volunteers look like, and also how do the volunteers get to this place? And yeah, a little broad description of what is this volunteer experience like.
For the last 5 years, we've been receiving volunteers from all over the world in Karukinka, and we receive 4 volunteers per month from September to April every year, which is the summer season here in the Southern Hemisphere. And the experience of volunteers it's very interesting and intense. The experience begins in the city of Punta Arenas after the arrival of the volunteers to the city, and then they have a full day of driving and crossing the Strait of Magellan to get to Karukinka. So the experience is interesting in the ways that you get to see the Strait of Magellan, which has a really interesting history and culture. And then you go driving the northern part of the island which is mainly grassland and sheep ranching. And after 100 or so kilometers, you start getting into the forest. So you drive through all the ecosystems present in the island. And at the beginning of the forest ecosystem, you find our headquarters that are in Vicuña sector. And that's where we have our park rangers' houses and where we receive our volunteers and where you would stay for a month. So the volunteer experience is one of being a park ranger for a month, basically. So our rangers do many, many things throughout their stay in the park. Mainly the work of the park rangers is to do the monitoring and patrolling of our park, of our trails. So we have some public use areas in the park. So the patrolling and monitoring is very important. We also do some monitoring of our conservation targets, which are the culpeo fox, the guanacos, the condors. So we basically go and count them and see their behaviors. So the volunteers help with that job also. We receive visitors in Karukinka throughout the summer. So part of the job also is to get involved in the visitor experience, receive the people, make sure the infrastructure and the camping sites are properly clean and safe for the people. You also have to do a lot of housekeeping work, such as cutting the wood for the fire, cleaning the kitchen, cleaning the cooking. Cooking is also a big part here, because when some of the volunteers and the rangers are in the field, part of the team stays and make good food for them when they come cold and tired. You also have to learn to make some bread, because everything in there is made by the people that lives there. There are no markets, no shops around. So you'll have to live for a month in a place completely away from the city and from the traffic. And it's a really, really interesting and amazing experience. And if you are lucky enough, you'll be part of some research, supporting some research projects in some of the remote areas of Karukinka, maybe get to the Admiralty Sound to help with some monitoring of the elephant seals or the albatross. So it depends. The activities also that are done throughout the month, they are different every month. So there are some basic things that you do that every volunteer does, but also there are some specifics that are done every month. So depends what is happening, then you'll get involved.
Okay, you almost said it already, but I will ask it again. It's like, so how does the station in Karukinka look like, and how is it equipped? I know that you also have like a campsite a little bit further from the station. So how is this divided, and what are like the normal activities or like a daily routine of a normal volunteer in Karukinka?
So our facilities in our headquarters in Karukinka include a guest house and a ranger's house and a kitchen with a room for the volunteers. So volunteers are expected to stay in a room, sharing a room with the other 3 volunteers. So we always have 4, shared bathroom. And it's a really cozy room because it's close to the kitchen, where the heater is turned on all day long for cooking and for heating. So it's really, really warm, and it's an area where everybody gets together throughout the day for food or for a chat or for playing some games at night. And the rest of our facilities also for visitors include a camping site and some domes in the same camping site. So we don't have capacity for a lot of people. We mainly receive around 20 to 30 people per day at the most, because we don't have a big or proper installations for more people. So that's about it. And then a normal day for a volunteer will start probably at 8 a.m. in the morning, getting together with the park rangers in the kitchen, lighting the fire, drinking some mate or some tea or coffee, having your breakfast. And then the chief of the rangers will tell what the activities of the day are. Probably some of the rangers and volunteers will have to go and do some patrolling in one of our 3 trails that we have around Vicuña. So you'll probably get ready for that, pack your bags. If it's the longer hike, you will spend there probably the whole day doing the walk and the patrolling and monitoring the species, and also checking that everything is right, that nobody's lighting a fire in the trail, that everything's safe. Some others will stay in Vicuña and will do some of the chopping of the wood and preparing wood for the guest house and for the ranger's house and for the kitchen. Some of you will stay for the cooking. You'll have the cooking mission of the day. Probably some of you will drive with the rangers to another area close to Vicuña where we have some regeneration and restoration projects to check that everything's well, that the beavers haven't flooded the area, and do some trapping probably activities. Beaver control is a big part of the work of the rangers and the volunteers during the summer season. The beavers are an exotic species, so we are controlling it throughout the year. And if the day it's really, really cold, for example, or if it's snowing or raining too much, you'll probably stay mainly indoors and do some work in the shed that we have, that it's doing some carpenter's work, painting of some of the signals for the trails, some other things that that's needed for repairing some of the infrastructure probably. And some of you will be in charge, of course, of checking the camping site, cleaning the toilets, checking that the people is doing well, providing assistance for the visitors.
Now I have the question is like, why, what makes this place special for you? And why do you have like a deep passion for this place? And why should people come and visit exactly this place at the end of the world?
Karukinka, it's a really special place because there are not many wild places left in the world. Karukinka has 300,000 hectares of pristine ecosystems and forests. So in light of the climate change events that we are facing around the world, having these massive expanses of forest, peat bogs, and healthy ecosystems is key for the survival of the humanity. So the work we do to conserve and protect these places, it's really important not only for our region, but also for our planet. We are all connected, we all know that. Therefore, the job that we do in Karukinka, it's key for what happens in other continents, for the air everybody breathes. So that's why we love having people that really live the experience and really that could really understand that the conservation work, it's a tough one. It's not easy. It's a really challenging one, but it's also really rewarding. So being part of a project like this as a volunteer or as a staff as myself makes you feel that you are really contributing to something, that you are really making or giving you a bit of yourself to a bigger cause. So yeah, of course, I invite people to live the experience here. It's really far. It's not that comfortable as being in your house, but conservation work is not comfortable. It's tough, but as I mentioned before, it's really rewarding. And every volunteer that has been in Karukinka goes back home happy, willing to come back, spreading the word, and that's what we all want. The people that do conservation work really want to tell the rest of the world the importance of conserving our ecosystems and our biodiversity. So having people like volunteers going back to their homes in Germany, in the US, in Argentina or Spain, it's key to us as well, because it's spreading the work we do and showing, it's broadcasting our work throughout the world. So for us, having volunteers from Argentina, Spain, the US, or Germany coming here, it's really key, because it's a way for us to show the rest of the world what we do, because these volunteers go back home and tell their family and friends what's going on in the bottom of the world, and they go back home with a bit more understanding and knowledge of the connection between the southern tip of Tierra del Fuego and their own home countries. So it's like a broadcasting of our conservation work to the rest of the world.
Yes, I think that's it.
Whee!
This was my questions. You answered everything perfectly. And